All right, I've got another article we can kind of move on to, if that's okay. So we've got an article from Reuters entitled "What Did 8 Weeks and 3 Trillion Buy Us by the U.S. in the Fight Against Coronavirus?" And so it's talking about all the different aid programs that have been put out to try to combat the economic effects of coronavirus. Talked about some of the talking points were that it had the U.S. Federal Reserve had put about 2.5 trillion behind global and domestic markets. um, there was this fear originally of well, it's still there, but the fear of overwhelming the hospital system has calmed down a lot. But a bunch of analysts still feel afraid that even though we aren't going to overwhelm the hospitals in the near future, that we aren't prepared for some of the economic impacts of the coronavirus. And so yeah, I guess it just was interesting that they were talking about how the enhanced 600 unemployment. So the unemployment program where the federal side of unemployment added 600 a week to the benefits, and how that's going to go away in July. And then there is a economist from Harvard, I believe his name was James Stock, and he said that basically there's two paths we should be going down. We should either be going down the route towards strictly lockdown and doing that perfectly, or we should go to cavalier acceptance of the death toll and in an attempt to build herd immunity to allow people to die off such that the virus can be contained. And his take on it was that we aren't really doing either one of those. And he thinks that our attempts to kind of I don't want to say, our attempts to open in a lackluster way, what that maybe isn't as thought out as it could be, are causing what he believes will happen is that there will be pockets of the disease that will still, or of the virus that will still flourish. And so I guess I just wanted to kind of pontificate on the question of, what is the real scarier part of the coronavirus? Is it the actual disease or the virus, or is it the economic impact as a whole? Because we're looking at all this unemployment and we're looking at all of these changes to industry that I just don't know that everyone is ready to, handle. And so I want to get you guys' take on it.
Well, I think we've said on this podcast before that we think that the climb back of the economies is going to be slow. And I think, the reopening of America is going to be slow. And so, we see it just in our state. There's these phases that we have to go through and apply for. And I think that's going to have a lot of effect on consumer behavior and on tax revenues, on revenues coming in for businesses. So it'll have an effect all the way around. And I think we're seeing the effect of that now when they're talking about lowering interest rates again, or negative interest rates. I think we have an article later, we're going to talk about it. So I don't know. I don't think, there's going to be this huge bounce back like we're talking about.
Yeah, I think the economic impact is probably going to be not good. Yeah, I don't know. To put a value judgment, to say that it's worse than it's hard to put a value judgment on it because it depends on whether you lost a loved one or not in this as well, right? But I think what the author was saying, or what the person that the author was citing was saying about it's that, what's that term, being half pregnant? You can't be half pregnant. I think that's the issue here, is that we're not being governed by a strategy. We're being governed by the how people feel it at the moment, right? So trying to social distance and to stay at home is a strategy. You can agree with it or disagree with its effectiveness, but it's one strategy for dealing with this with an expected result. Going for herd immunity and leaving things completely open so that you can achieve herd immunity is another strategy. And again, I don't know the science to know which of those is actually the better way to go. And from what I've seen and read and listened to, the science may not be conclusive on that point either. So it is just a matter of, which medicine do you want to take? But I agree with what we're doing now is not a strategy, right? There is no such strategy as follow a stay-at-home order until everyone just gets tired of staying at home, and then start opening up because you can't handle the political pressure anymore. And so, people are going to get all mad at you and you've got a president who's disagreeing with your governor, and so let's just start opening up to make people happy. There's no strategy like that. You can't tie that to here's a strategy that will lead to a certain health outcome, right? And so I don't have to be a scientist to know that activity and how it's being motivated and what's happening isn't tied to any kind of scientific strategy or tactic that we're trying to achieve. So I find that very disturbing, and I feel like what I hate more than anything in my life is the idea of wasted effort. It's like if we went down one road and then we just totally stopped doing it because we just can't take our medicine, then all of the sacrifice we've made to date on that becomes just wasted effort. And that's very disheartening to me.
I agree. I think we have to pick a path and stick to it, and to be consistent in our approach so that we can get through this problem. And it seems like every state is just coming up with their own answer to that, or not even every state, but every county or every business individually even. And so, yeah, it's definitely difficult to get everybody on the same page.